Hi Year 10, these are the instructions on how to write a theme essay for The Outsiders. You should write at least 300 words. Remember to underline the text title, not the name of the author, and you must include quotes if you want to pass. The essay topic is identify an important idea and explain how it helps you to understand a character in the text. The first thing to do is to underline the key words. So they would be identify, idea, explain, and character. The next thing to do is to identify the idea or theme that you will write about. This essay I'm going to write about education. And the character that you will write about is the next thing to identify. So I'll write about Ponyboy. When you do your essay topic, I don't mind if you choose the character of Ponyboy as well. That's fine, but you need to choose a different idea. Okay, so don't write about education. Then it will be totally original. So my three main points. Number one, Ponyboy thinks that life is easier for the socias and it's easier for them to get good grades. My second point will be, Ponyboy thinks that Derry has sacrificed his education so that Pony can go to school. And my third point, Ponyboy wants to tell his story so others can learn from it. After you've brainstormed your three main points, the next thing to do is find a quote that will match each point. So here I've got for point one, "It ain't fair," I cried passionately, "it ain't fair that we have all the rough breaks," which is Pony talking to Sherry when he's discussing the differences between the socias and the greasers. For point two, "But we just didn't have the money for him to go to college, even with the athletic scholarship he won. And now he didn't have time between jobs to even think about college." Pony also says this when he's talking about Derry. And point three, "And I decided I could tell people, beginning with my English teacher." This is when Pony decides to write the story about what's happened, and it becomes the book The Outsiders. Now you've gathered information. The next thing to do is to start processing. So to write your introduction, you need to identify the text and the author. Secondly, include a brief answer to the topic, which lists your three main points. And thirdly, state the author's purpose. This can be done, the author's purpose can be done throughout your essay as well, but if you just want to do it in your introduction and conclusion, that's fine. Here's the example of the introduction. In the novel The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, an important idea is education. This idea helps the reader to understand that Ponyboy thinks it's easier for the socias to get good grades, that Ponyboy believes that Derry has sacrificed his education, and Ponyboy believes it's important to tell his story. The author wants the reader to realise that just because someone is disadvantaged economically, it doesn't mean that they're unable to achieve well in life. So you can see where I've got my three main points, 1, 2 and 3 there, then the author's purpose at the end. Your body paragraphs are going to follow the Peel structure, and you'll need to write 3 of them. So the first thing to do is state your first point. Then you're going to explain an event from the text which proves your point. Then you'll include an example, which is a quote, as evidence. Explain who says it and why they said it, and discuss what the idea helps the reader to learn about the character. Lastly, you'll make a link to the real world by explaining where this idea is seen in real life, and also think about what do we learn about human behaviour from this. Okay, so an example of a body paragraph. Ponyboy thinks that life is better for the socias and that it's easier for them to get better grades. After the movies, he's talking to Sherry and thinking about how hard life is for Johnny and himself. "It ain't fair," I cried passionately. "It ain't fair that we have all the rough breaks." Ponyboy says this because he believes that the greasers are disadvantaged because they are poor and many of them have parents who don't seem to care about education. The idea of education helps the reader learn that Pony is weighed down by the way he views his circumstances. He feels hopeless and that he'll never do well in life. In real life, we see that many people who grow up in similar circumstances do not achieve well at school, and their education doesn't seem to be important to them. Their socio-economic circumstance can lead them to feel hopeless about what they can achieve in life. We learn that our attitudes can be negatively affected by our circumstances, but it's important to rise above this. In your conclusion, you need to identify the text and author, include a brief answer to the topic which lists your 3 main points, state the author's purpose for writing the text, explain what you learnt from the text that you can apply to your own life. So this last bit here is the new info that you're going to add in, and that makes it different from your introduction. So, in the novel The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, an important idea is education. This helps the reader to understand that Ponyboy thinks it's easier for the Socias to get good grades, that Ponyboy believes Derry has sacrificed his education, and that Ponyboy wants to tell his story. The author wants the reader to realise that just because someone is disadvantaged economically, it doesn't mean they're unable to achieve well in life. From this text, the reader learns that our attitude to the problems that we face is important in determining how we overcome them. A positive attitude will help us see potential solutions. After you've written your essay, read through and check for spelling and punctuation errors and make sure you make the corrections. Publish your essay on your blog. Remember to add the English category. I don't want any essays emailed to me, they must be on your blog. Thank you. Good night.